seat, chilling for you, approaching it deductively, on the empowering moment with Coach T. Food for your mind, food for your body and soul, on the empowering moment with Coach T.
Welcome to Empowering Moments with Coach T. I am your host, Toria Reneé, and as you all know, to my journey walkers, I am known as Coach T. And this is where I try to provide you with a fresh perspective on life's challenges, giving you information that is valuable today and years to come. So as you are able to walk out your journey to becoming the very best version of yourself. And we're doing it right here on IntellectualRadio.com. For those of you who may not know, I am a women's empowerment coach, a motivational speaker, relationship coach, wedding officiant, best-selling author, and of course, a radio talk show personality right here on IntellectualRadio.com. You are tuned in to the very last show in the Sistahs Speaks segment series. And this is where I gear the conversation to all things women and the challenges that we face. The purpose is always to empower the ladies to improve, learn, and grow so that they are showing up their very best self on a daily basis. Today, it is a blessing to have IntellectualRadio.com's veteran show producer, veteran show host, and of He Said, She Said, and transformational life coach, just all things talented, the Miss Wanda Bee.
Oh, thank you for having me, Toria. Coach T.
Yes, it has been a while since we have been able to be together on a show.
So and have an empowering moment.
Yes, indeed. I'm trying to tell you. So I know I'm gonna dive right on in because I know that everybody and their mama didn't seen this interview with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant with Cam Newton, and she also did one with Nick Cannon, and it's just been trending. It's everywhere. It's Facebook, IG, TikTok, YouTube. I think they done made up some more platforms for this to be trending on. Okay, but Wanda, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's unpack this, honey, because. So let me start with a little bit of background, let you know who Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is. I didn't really know she was all that.
I didn't know her until this.
Me either. But apparently, Dr. Cheyenne got an awesome little resume here, okay? She is a psychologist. She's a life coach. She's a motivational speaker, and she is a community activist. She is the founder of the Bryant Institute, which is a mental health and life coaching-based institute. And she has the Bryant Foundation, which provides resources to youth, families, and communities in need. Dr. Bryant also is an award-winning author of the book Mental Detox. And I didn't know this either. She is the co-producer of the MTV reality show Teen Mom Family Reunion. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know her, let alone that she did that.
Right. And then I was really, really trying to figure out how is she an activist? But apparently this chick is the president of an NAACP branch.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So all these little fun facts about her. So she's her resume is nicely laid and she's credentialed. So I understand why she's able to have this platform and speak on these things because this is actually her profession. So I get it. However, I got little questions with this low function, high function thing that she talks about because to me, I'm like, but you putting people at one extreme or the other, right? And so I want to talk about, how some of these things that came up in the interview with Cam Newton versus Nick Cannon. And I will tell y'all, I watched both of these interviews, and let me just be real clear with you. The one with Nick Cannon, it was wonderful. We thought the one with Cam Newton was great. The one with Nick Cannon was everything because he's a little bit more intelligent and articulate than Cam Newton is, baby.
He's more high functioning.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely more high functioning, okay? And she didn't want to give it to him, but he was, okay? Let me tell you something, because he had the words for her. Okay, which I loved. One of the things that I will say about the interview with her and Cam Newton.
Share a little bit about what each, in case someone did not see it, because I know I only because people made me aware of it, I didn't even know it existed. Some people may not have seen it.
I gotta tell y'all, I honestly feel like she took those interviews with those particular young men because she knew they had a couple of baby mamas. Because how she came for their head about having multiple children with multiple women. And don't get me wrong, they are some serial baby mama getting people, but I mean, that's what they want to do with their life. But she came for them in a way that made it very, very clear that she had a distaste for what they had done. And so in the interview with Cam Newton, he was trying to get her to really, really talk about who she is and what her platform is. And she was too busy trying to take jabs at him. And when he asked her pointed questions, she would dance around the whole thing until she gets to what she want to say. Right. So it was she came for Cam Newton because Cam Newton has 8 children with 3 different baby mamas. Okay. The last of which is the girlfriend is the comedian Jasmine. I didn't do no research on her because it wasn't important. But apparently he has all these kids. What he has done to rectify that situation is that he has taken custody of all of his children in the home with him and the girlfriend. But he says, I'm not going, he's still not going to marry her because he is more afraid his fear of divorce is greater than his fear of getting married. I mean, of not, you know what I mean? So he wants, he's more afraid of getting divorced than he ever is getting married, but he would like to get married, but he don't want to get married. But whether he gets married or not, he definitely want to have some more kids, and she says to him, are you really, really trying to build a family unit? And he says, however the Lord gives it to me. Boy, okay, stop playing, okay? So you just willing to create some more broken homes out here. Because what she basically told him is that you created broken homes with these 8 kids and 3 baby mamas. And she's right. That part I couldn't, it's just the way she did it. In a lot of ways, I feel like she was being disrespectful to him. And I gotta applaud him because he really, really kept his cool. And I could tell she was pushing some buttons. I'm like, well, girl, if he wasn't who he was, he might have cussed you out. Because I almost want to cuss you out. You ain't even talking to me. I was like, wow,
Was Nick Cannon's the same? Was it the same premise to come on there and expose that Nick Cannon too has multiple baby mamas and some children that are the same age with multiple baby mamas?
I think
he has what, 11, 12 children?
Yeah, but she basically told them that's a low functioning behavior. And I'm not going to disagree that is a low functioning behavior, but I think it's also intentional. So I think that, me personally, I think they're intentionally functioning low. That's what I think. I don't think it's one of those they're not aware of what they're doing. I think they're very aware of what they're doing. I think that's what they want to do. And that's why they chose to do it this way. Because anybody and their mama could get married. I mean, Nick Cannon is a catch. Okay. Anybody want to marry him. If he was able to marry Mariah Carey, any and everybody got a chance at this point. Okay. You can get Nick. Okay.
Nick, or at least a baby mom.
That's what I'm saying. You can get a baby, but I'm just saying, if Nick wanted to be, I'll say this: if Nick wanted to be married to somebody, he'd be married to somebody. Yes, and it would not be a hard.
He'd have no.
That's what I'm saying. It's not a hard thing for him to do. Cam Newton either. If he wanted to be married, he'd be married too. Okay, this girlfriend he got. I'm pretty sure Jasmine, the comedian that he got sitting at home, is like counting down the days that he decided to marry somebody. Okay, she's like, oh, please propose. Now, not that she begging him for it, but baby, let me tell you, if he come up with a ring and say, will you marry me? I don't think she's gonna say no. You know what I mean? So these are not men that can't be married if they want it to. They clearly don't want to. And the fact that they're choosing not to is not necessarily, to me, a low functioning behavior. It is, because I don't feel like you choose to be low functioning. I feel like either you are, you know what I mean?
I agree with you. I don't think that's a conscious choice to say, oh, here I go. I'm about to work. I'm going to stay in the low functioning realm right about. I think that's based on some of the things you pointed out in your research to prepare for today's show, whether you're functioning from your trauma or from your pain or from that is a result of that. I don't think anyone really. Some of these terms are very 2024. We weren't talking low functioning and high functioning to make a choice, or even trauma. We weren't using
Right.
these terms on a weekly basis like this. I don't think they're intentionally saying, I feel like being low functioning. I whatever, they're very successful in their fields. I'm very successful with this. I'm gonna just be low functioning over here
Just because.
just because I need a break from thinking. I'm just gonna
Right.
stay low over here.
Right. I don't think that's the thing. And let me just get these terms out here for you so y'all can understand, because okay, so this is her words. This is her definition of low functioning. And I quote: low function is when your trauma chooses for you. Trauma bonds are a perfect example of low functioning relationships. Trauma bonding happens when you choose a low functioning Now listen to this. Trauma bonding happens when you choose a low functioning person based upon their trauma that reflects yours. Reflecting yours. This provides the familiarity that your trauma needs and pain pockets need to survive. Now, okay, my first issue, I'm gonna give you a moment, but my first issue is trauma bonding happens when you choose a low functioning person. First of all, we're not running around here saying I'm gonna choose a low functioning person, because before Dr. Cheyenne came on the scene, like you said, we didn't even know what low functioning is. Because let's just be clear, I looked up low functioning and the definition. I had a hard time trying to find these definitions she was given.
You
Okay,
know
so
what?
it's something she made. It's not that it's something she made up.
She made up, I
Okay,
believe.
these are her
Yes.
terms because I
Her
can't find the
terms.
terms nowhere else. The term. Let's just be clear. When I look at if you Google search low functioning, high functioning, it refers to someone who has a disability and the way that they function. It's usually a term used for people who have autism
Or any disability
the
that is neurological, when you're
exactly
trying to determine how well they can function. They use those terms, and
right.
now she's
And now she's
taken those same terms and applied it to this. We have thought this way though, but we usually call it something else. Over the years, it all transpires to be called something else. Like we
right.
used to use, like, do I have this on my head? I keep we talk about who we attract, and
Right.
attracting someone where you are, to me, is that I'm low functioning, I attract low functioning or high functioning. If you become high functioning aware, you'll attract more people like that. We've used this same thought process, we just didn't use these terms to describe
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. And then she talked, so the high functioning, and I'm paraphrasing because based on what she said, high functioning is when you are healed or fully aware of unhealed trauma. And as a result, you purposely um do not allow trauma to choose for you, right? So you're more intentional because you already know the trauma that you have, or you've been healed from that. Instead, you choose based upon healthy principles and boundaries that allow genuine connections rooted in complementary values, ethics, lifestyles, and character traits that enrich your lives together. That's what she is toting as a high functioning person. And I'm saying, I don't know that there is a person out there that is always functioning high. I don't know. I don't know that we always function high. Even if we are predominantly a high functioning person, do we always function high no matter what? And I don't think that's possible.
I don't think, in my opinion, in order to stay in a high function, you have to be so conscious and aware of every emotion and what triggers you, because you could be around people, and I'm going to use her term just so you, because now people will be able to identify who I'm referring to without talking about someone in specific. But if you are in a moment of being triggered by someone, and let's say that person is low functioning, that trigger can trigger you now to be low functioning. You would have to be aware to fix it in a moment. You'd have to go, why am I responding this way? Don't respond this way. I'm going to use healed because I think more people are more familiar with that kind of term. If you're healed from whatever traumas you may have grown up with, or whatever happened in your past, and you're healed from that, you're not as easily triggered. But when you're around someone who's trying to trigger you, not trying, or unintentionally triggering something they may not even know you have dealt with or are dealing with, to come back and fix it in that moment sometimes is difficult. So no, we can't. It's very hard to stay in a high functioning healed space at all times. You have to be so aware and conscious and in the moment of, oh, this person just said that you want to retaliate and lash out and lash back at them or want to hit them, whatever your response is to what they do. But to be able to respond in a healed place, you have to fix it very promptly. And I think that's difficult to do.
I think it's difficult to do, and I think most people are not that. I think the most self-aware person is not able to always be that controlled, because
I
that's a
totally agree.
control thing. And I haven't met the person that is that level of controlled. Now, I have met some people that it takes a lot to push them to that low functioning place, but I have not met anyone that if the right precise buttons were pushed, you wouldn't react. This is why I have an issue with people saying, well, if you didn't have the button for them to push, then they couldn't push it. And I'm saying, to be without a button that could trigger a low functioning behavior in you is almost to be inhuman, because there's no person who doesn't have a button. You're never going to not have a button. You can deactivate the button, right? To a point where it takes way more to
A
trigger
whole lot
it.
more. It's not, your simple words won't get you there.
Right.
It would have to be, and most of the people who are, this is all my opinion, some people who are attempting to push that button can tell is not being pushed yet. So they are going to keep trying
over time.
And they usually know you well enough to know what triggers it or how to get to that button. So they're going to continue to try, because as they're not getting a response and they want a response, they are going to try to go deeper, harder, dig. They're going to watch for your reactions and see if they're getting there, and they're going to keep trying. And you have to stay in such a zen place as they're doing this to not want to go there. And what people say to people, oh, you a good one, because I would have done this.
Absolutely.
Like most people are, when they say I may forgive, but I don't forget. If you say you didn't forget, then your button is still sitting out there waiting to be pushed. Because it would take really forgetting for that button to go away.
Boom. Now, I like the way you said that, because I think it is a lot of forgetting. And I want to respond to one of my comments, because as we were talking about Cam Newton and Nick Cannon being willing to be out here making all these babies, my guest says, Sister V says, they have willing participants that allow them to do what they do. And that is actually 100% true. And just so we make this clear, Nick Cannon alluded to that when he was talking about his baby mama situations. Some of these people signed up for this. Let's just be clear.
Right. If he has 8 children or baby number 10 and you are signing up, you know how babies are made. You know Nick Cannon likes having children.
Right.
He
Why
has
would you
no
do this?
problems having children. You know on that, and you can protect yourself and not even involve him. You don't even need to tell him what you've done to protect you've done to protect yourself. You can protect yourself from baby number 13 with Nick Cannon.
Right, because I can't keep up. 25, okay, I don't know how many he got.
He definitely has willing participants, whether it be for their money, to be one of baby. And he should realize that people will do it for all different reasonings. There are reasons why, their trauma points, their pain points, their reasons trauma bonding is going to be
different than
his.
Right.
And he may not even be aware of why, but he needs to take care of himself.
Right.
And because as a father of however many children, even as a a parent, let me say this, because I believe this is true of either parent. When you don't live in the home with the children and you have to actually fly. In fact, this whole conversation came up with me and someone else, and it happened to be Nick Cannon's. He has children that are the same age but live in different states, both having birthday parties at the same time.
How you gonna do it?
And you need to get in an airplane to get to the other child's party. They don't live in the same home. Can you really be the best parent you can be in these situations. So now you're already setting up these children to maybe have some pain points, some trauma, some whatever based on these situations. They may not. I'm not saying it's but I do think already they are. In fact, I think when the term
broken
home
homes.
is brought up, I think that this situation is part of broken, because that was
And I
a
agree.
topic that what does broken mean? Because they were never married. He probably never. The only person he's ever married was Mariah Carey. So those first two twins were not necessarily of a broken home. It becomes
They
broken when they
became
divorce.
broken when they divorced. Here's what I will say about the broken homes, because people don't like it. Triggered Cam when she said broken, because in his mind, he's made it whole because he has all 8 of the children in his home, but they still don't have the benefit of their mother. And that's how you've still I mean, you basically then made lemonade with the lemons you created. Okay, let's just be clear.
But that doesn't take
But that
away
doesn't take
that
away,
you
right.
need what helps make children, what aids them. I won't say it totally makes them whole, because they can go back after they and seek, or you can have father figures, mother figures in your life, but it's having both parents. At least that's what's said, that both parents, a child benefits from having both parents in their life. And if they're just living with their dad, then they may need, the mother adds something to a child's life. The father adds to a child's life. Father figures, mother figures add to the children's life. So that part could be somewhat broken, and you have to then take every effort to
Bridge that gap.
Yes, that's
You've got to bridge that gap in the best way that you can, which is what Cam Newton has done. He's bridged the gap in the best way that he knows how, by saying, I'm going to keep all my children with me in a household where there is a mother figure, because I have a girlfriend that lives with me. So they have a unit. They are still absent of their own mothers, though, which is still a little bit broken. It could still be broken for them, depending on what the frequency is of them being able to see their biological mother and have that connection with her. So I'm saying, in a way, it's still broken, but he has repaired it, as the fracture, as much as he can.
And that can be triggering when someone refers to, because we as people can be very protective, especially when we're trying everything we know how to do at that moment. Because when you know better, you're supposed to do better. But he feels he knows better, so he's trying to do better by putting his children in the home with him. And then someone tells you they're going to be broken. That's a triggering thing.
That's right. And I think that's how she triggered him. But she's one of those. But funny enough, she talks about low functioning people that trigger people, but she's one of them. She's one of them people.
A lot of times, people accuse people of being something that they are themselves.
Because you're digging at him, like you came for his hand a little bit. So that was a low functioning behavior, if you ask me. But we want to talk about I'm so high function, right? And what really got me is that she's so high function, but you're not healed though. You just are aware. You're probably more aware, but given your profession, you're probably more aware of what you deal with. But I didn't hear a healed person talking.
But I think it goes back to your initial point that it is difficult sometimes to always operate and work as a high functioning person all the time. And then if she's trying to go for ratings, this doesn't make a good show really for her probably to speak, or to, she wants him to say and be triggered because it makes for better ratings.
Absolutely. And this is what got me, because women were like, oh, she got him together. She got him together. And I'm like, she was also quite disrespectful. And that's not how, to me, you don't, to purposely be disrespectful in order to make yourself seem higher than him is a low functioning behavior to me.
Yes.
Why you run around talking about I'm high functioning? I want to get to her other term, because she talks about being hybrid. Oh, I'm a hybrid. She called herself a hybrid. And I'm like, girl, okay, you is making this stuff, and you ain't gonna find that term either. Okay, but let me tell you something.
She plug her up in the electric station. She don't use gas.
She is a hybrid girl.
Let me see what hybrid
So
means.
again, I'm paraphrasing. Hybrid functionality is when a high functioning person has the capacity to meet someone at a temporary low point of functionality to connect, empathize, and support through or back to their normal high functioning place, or possibly relate to a predominantly low functioning partner.
So I would assume, this is my assumption. I don't know this Cheyenne, Dr. Bryant, or whatever her name. I don't, but it seems like that's her way of coming up with an excuse. When we say people aren't accountable, you can give this excuse that, well, I'm intentionally being hybrid. I can go low function so I can relate to him. How else could I have this conversation with Cam Newton if I couldn't go there?
Oh,
So I'm able to go there. I'm hybrid. I go high, I go low. She high, low. And she can be intentional, she's saying, because I'm assuming that that would be her, that she
yes.
can go low and have this low conversation because she's hybrid. She's a high functioner who chooses to go low in order to connect and have this conversation with someone who's low functioning.
That's her. I'm with you. That's her covering all her bases. So when she is low functioning, and she knows she will be, she can lean to, oh, I'm a hybrid. Me personally, I think everyone is hybrid. I think that everybody is hybrid. Period. That's what I think, because I think I can be high functioning in one area, I could be low functioning in another, I could be mid functioning in another area, I could be mid high functioning in one area, I could be mid low in another area. It really depends on the situation and the trauma or the pain pocket.
All of that. Yes.
You know,
totally agree.
Prime example. And I don't know if you've ever watched this. And for my people that actually were Gabrielle Union fans, you remember there was a show called Being Mary Jane.
I remember that show.
And let me tell you something. If you watched a couple of episodes, because I stopped watching after a while, because I'm like, I can't take her low function, right? Her low function was getting on my nerve. I wasn't calling it then, but
right.
Today I'm like, your low function was working my nerve, because she was high functioning at work. I mean, she was kicking behind and taking names in her professional life. So there she was high functioning. But when it came to her love life, she was raggedy. Okay? Raggedy. Low functioning. I'm talking about she was over here intentionally. Let me just try to throw this out here. She was intentionally being a side chick. She was running around here, decided that she get depressed for her birthday, and then she decided to pay unannounced visits to all her ex-boyfriends. Then she turned around and decided she wanted to inject herself with aged sperm of one of her other ex-boyfriends who was now married to somebody else. Right. So it was, I was like, if this ain't some low functioning crap, I don't know what is, right? So there is an example of a person who is dealing
hybrid.
In all of the hybrid on a daily. She's hybrid. That's most people, though, in my mind. So what do you think about that? Because I feel like everybody's hybrid.
I think so, because if people the reason they do what they do, their why could be based on trauma and things like that. That may not have happened in the workplace. So you're very high functioning because you're successful. And we're talking about men right there. The two men with Cam, successful in sports, and Nick Cannon, successful in entertainment. So they're obviously high functioning in some areas of their life. And same as you're talking about being Mary Jane. Mary Jane was the same way, where when it came to work, she was high functioning. And I'm only using these terms because those are the terms that she used. Because that wasn't a term I ever used until today.
Ever, never, ever. And I'm still ever, never, ever, because I'm telling you, the definitions are not out there, okay? These definitions I pulled because I was watching the show. This is not nowhere, okay? It's not you can't find it, okay? Just so you know, you can't Google low function, high function, hybrid functioning. These are all terms that are coined by Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. Let's just be clear, because you can't find a definition to them nowhere. Just want to make sure y'all know that it's not
But
out
I
there.
guess we could all be like Michelle Obama. When they go low, we go high.
Pretty much. Pretty. Wow, that's hilarious. I don't know. I guess if we want to.
If we want to,
if
you
they
can-
if they hit our trauma and pain pocket, we can.
right, that pain pocket where you can't, where you go, oh, okay, you done went there.
I'm
Now
gonna go
you
with
take
you.
off your
Look,
earrings and get your Vaseline and say,
that's
okay.
when, right. That's when you say, when you go when you go low, I'm going to hell. Okay, let's just be clear.
When you go low, I go lower. You say,
But yes,
okay.
that in the words of the infamous Melody Holtz said, when you go low, baby, I'm going to hell. Okay, I was like,
oh,
that's yeah. Basically, can't nobody beat you at this point. You're gonna show them what it is. If you're gonna be low, let's win. Okay, I'm the best at everything I do, baby. Let's be clear. So let's talk trauma, because we bounced this word trauma around a lot today. So trauma is an emotional response to a horrifying, stressful, or dangerous event, relationship, or circumstance that threatens or harms a person's health and safety. Most people will experience at least one form of trauma in their lifetime. Did you know there are 4 types of trauma? I did not know this. So there's acute trauma that develops in the response to a single event like a car accident or sexual assault or a natural disaster. There is a complex trauma. This develops in response to prolonged and repeated traumatic events such as child abuse or neglect, domestic violence, or civil unrest. Then there is this secondary vicarious trauma. Now, I found this one interesting. Develops in response to witnessing someone else's trauma, typically among therapists, first responders, healthcare providers, and so on. These are the people that empathize with people and they take it off to themselves, right? And then, last but not least, you have generational trauma. And this is passed down from one generation to the next, particularly when it's experienced by a collective group, such as slavery, genocide, those types of things. So, there are 4 types of trauma. I'm going to ask you this question because I'm going to really back to relationships, which is and connectivities, which is where we're really living in this conversation. How do you think trauma affects the ability to connect in a relationship?
Well, they have the term trauma bonding where you can meet someone, and I've actually experienced this. So I'm going to use myself as an example. Met someone that we both were products of divorce. And because he could relate to my experience, his being at a different age, my parents divorced when I was 18, his parents divorced when he was 7. And we both could discuss the type of pain we went through. And we both said we wanted something different for our children. The bonding began there, that we both knew that we wanted to be parents in the future. But one thing we definitely wanted to do was pay close attention to how we dealt with, if it were to come up that we would get divorced, how we would handle it, that our children would know it had nothing to do with them and we would remain family. That his parents, when they got divorced, the parents remained family even though they were divorced, and we too would think of things the same way, that no matter what, the kids came from, because that was my trauma, feeling like I definitely felt the broken home syndrome, that I didn't have this loving family, that I didn't come from a family anymore, that my parents, that I would grew up in what I thought was this loving situation, and that it wasn't there anymore. And he too, I don't know if he didn't express it the same way, because men and women do communicate differently. He never expressed it the same way, but that was a trauma that we both bonded over. And so I do think trauma, no matter what, because it's part of who we are and how we learn to cope with things and manage with things. And so we may look for people who make us feel good and don't have to. We may look for people who make us feel a certain way based on that trauma. I'm looking for someone that makes me feel secure, the person who wants someone who they've dealt with people who financially couldn't support the relationship, come to the relationship with and bring the same amount to the relationship. So you're looking for someone who can. And so you tend to now start looking for someone who comes to you differently, which may be based on that whole trauma. And learning to do something different takes work. To be healed from your traumas may take actually not being in a relationship for a time so you can totally focus, because I don't think some people may not even realize what their traumas are or how that affected them. That this situation, I don't believe everyone feels that they can tell you a situation they grew up with and you could like clutch your pearls like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't have been able to deal with that. And they don't seem affected at all, when at some point it may have in some ways, because they built a natural response to how to deal with the way they felt in that situation. And I know for me, when I don't know, I was reading some of your comments, and as Sister V said, that she believes we all have a combination of both. And I do believe we do. That just like the person who has a physical illness can compensate by, if your one leg is weak, you may lean towards the other one more. Where you lean towards where you're strong, that people tend to do that. They lean towards the strong. That it takes to understand why. Why do I respond that way? Why do I feel this way? I know if someone triggers me in the instance and I feel like, oh, they did this, and I feel that I felt a reaction to it, I stop and I ask myself, why did I respond to that? How did that make me? Why did I have this feeling? I try not to be triggered by dealing with the feeling right then. If I feel someone responded to me in a certain way, I'll ask myself, oh, that you felt that, like there was a reason you felt like snapping on them. Like, okay, you felt that. Where? Then I try to think of the first time that happened where I felt this way before. The first time I ever had that feeling of that somebody doing that to me. Sometimes it really does take a little bit of work, because it's not something we totally walk around with all the trauma things hanging from our shirt and we know which one that got pulled that day.
I like that you said that, because I love that you said this, because I remember watching Iyanla Vanzant Fix My Life. And so she basically had these people walking around with all these, trauma, they put in bags and all that. But it doesn't feel that way to you just necessarily. And you're not able to. I wish I did have a sign that said, "Ooh, this
is what you just
this
hit.
is the button you just pushed." Like, I don't always know. I like how the fact that you said, oh, you acknowledge, oh, I felt that. Wait. That hit me somewhere. Like, shots fired, it made a connection. Man, I felt it hit where the bullet hole at. Because you hit me today. Like,
that's what I tend to try to do, right? Like
battleship
that
sank, okay?
If Facebook can do that to me, like somebody responded in a way, and you're like, oh, I'm typing away, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. And I had to take a moment, erase it all, and go within and say, okay, that you were ready to go at them about that. Why?
But
when was the first time you had a feeling like this? Because you tend to respond the same way you did. As someone said to me, if this happened to you when you were 10, your 10-year-old self comes out to respond to
that, because it hasn't been rectified. I love the fact that you identify, hey, I felt that, but not only did I feel that and it hit me somewhere, but where is the first time that this ever happened? So now I can figure out what it's rooted in, what it's grounded in, what age was I when this happened, because now I've got to speak to that. I've got to speak to her.
I got to deal with that because that's going to keep coming up, because every time someone goes there,
she's going
to respond. Or whatever time when I had my first child and I felt like, oh, was I going to be a good enough mother, that if anybody triggers, I'm tying this into somewhat of how Cam may feel, triggers or hits, that I'm not being a good father or not being a good mother, that I'm going to feel attacked.
Yes.
How do I deal with that? Because I'm not going to allow myself to be triggered like this again. And the only way to do that is to heal it and to go back and say, oh, it's because you felt like at that time, you felt like you weren't. I was a young mother at 23, and people would say things and make comments that I felt, and how do I heal that? And I may have to take a couple days to go, well, you this, and and work on. So now when it comes at me again, I don't feel that
Child, please
trigger.
go somewhere.
I don't even think about it that way. I don't
Exactly.
respond that way. I don't even see it the same way anymore.
And
If I can go there.
and the responses are key. Your response to things is key, because I was talking about this in our Tuesday night uh, empowerment zone at my church, New Harvest Ministries International. Y'all come on out, okay? Sunday, 10:15. North Aurora. Okay, I'm just telling you. But one of the things that I said is that my responses are different than they used to be. So certain things that would normally have me like going like
or lack of
bam,
response now.
right, is like okay, whatever. Like there are some things that used to have drive me bonkers that I just be like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm just not going to do it. And so that's me changing my response, but that's also me understanding what the trigger is. And so I understand where that comes from. So now I can be like, yeah, but that's not a thing though, now for me. Okay. Here's the other thing I want to talk about. In your opinion, what makes trauma bonding dangerous for individuals? Because eh, she, I think Dr. Cheyenne Bryant made it seem like trauma bonding was this horrible thing you could do, and I want to really unpack where the danger is. Not that I'm saying I disagree with her, because I don't. I just want to make sure we unpack what the danger is.
So, trauma bonding, you have two people who are going to be triggering each other and constantly. When I think a lot of time the danger is you will always how you won't help each other grow. If we know what healthy relationships are built with, and what I like is that you sent me some of the things that make up a healthy relationship. It won't be based in a healthy place, because we're talking about two people with unhealthy things not being able to. You want to be able to help each other grow, and be able to work them through. Like, oh no, you can't get inflamed and go on 10 every time they bring something up and expect that person. You're just gonna have one volatile relationship if you're constantly throwing bombs at each other and responding to bombs and responding back to each other. But I'm going to
I
look
like the
something up.
way that you said that, because I think that that's what happens when you are trauma bonding. Eventually, there's this toxicity that forms, because now, as you said, you're aggravating each other with your triggers, because I'm hitting your triggers, you're hitting mine, and we're constantly, especially we got the same trigger, we're constantly hitting the same trigger.
And we
So we're in
know
this
how to
cycle.
get to it then, because I
Exactly.
feel the same way. I know what'll
So I
get you.
know exactly how to take that jab at you just right. Okay. So we're in this cycle of throwing our trauma back in each other's faces all the time. We're in this cycle of aggravating each other's trauma all the time. So we're always triggered.
And versus saying from a place where I know, and it doesn't have to happen, because you can say, I know where that's coming from. I understand that pain. When you understand it in yourself, you can say to the other, they're responding this way because they're feeling like this. And you can speak to them differently. You can speak to them from a place of love, from a place of understanding. If you understand it within yourself as well, if it's healed within you, you may be able to say, because some people may not be able to articulate the feeling and not even touch where it came from or how it started. Or some people feel like that stuff's too deep. I don't think that deeply. You think it too deeply in that situation. I wasn't affected by that. But you can, if you can hear it because you've dealt with it yourself, you then can respond differently versus being throwing a bomb back and trying to go lower and trying to go to hell with them. You try to stay here in a place of love and a place of compassion, empathy, and because you want the same given to you, and you understand, when you understand someone's why, you can come at them differently, because you know how you would want it done for you, and you understand it and the real emotion. Because some people explain something from, and it's not really the real.
It's not the real.
It's
Yeah.
not really what
That's the
they're.
best they got in order in terms of articulation, or it is difficult for them to really, really tap into it. I think the other thing is that you have If you're not healed, what's going to happen is instead of you having empathy for them, you're going to take it personally. You're going to see it as a jab at you.
That it was
It
intentional
was
to get at you
intentional.
and had nothing to do
And it
with
really,
them.
really had nothing to do. But you do the same thing, but you're not going to see it that way because you're going to take it personal because it's a trigger for you too. You
Someone
see what I'm
told me
saying?
once, yes, someone told me, in fact, I'll just, Dr. Kimberly Davis, my best friend, she said that most times when something that feels like an attack or saying something to you has nothing to do with you.
9 times out of 10, it has nothing to
Nothing
do
to
with
do
you.
with you. It's based on their own pains, traumas, whatever. It's something
And
about
let
it
them
has
have whatever that is.
it's
I'm just
nothing to
telling
do with,
you.
and if you tell yourself that as soon as they're throwing stuff at you, and if you put up your armor that don't have nothing to do with me,
I'm not
that's all
receiving
you.
that.
I'm
I'm
not
not
receiving
receiving that.
that.
Go ahead on and do what you're doing. Here's the thing. I think that what's funny to me is Dr. Cheyenne Bryant will say all these are low functioning behaviors, right? I don't think that I don't believe that only low functioning individuals would entangle themselves in a trauma bonding relationship.
I agree
I
with you.
don't think that. I think that I could be I think I could be very high functioning and yet still identify because and maybe I identify because I'm healed from it and so I understand where it's coming from, or maybe I identify because I'm aware of it but I'm not healed from it, or maybe I ain't aware and I ain't healed but I'm still high functioning in whatever area this is that I'm high functioning in. I don't think that it's I don't think that high functioning and low functioning determines every characteristic or behavior you're ever going to have. That's what I don't like about these terms because you're boxing people in. And I think that you created this hybrid. I think she created this hybrid term to get rid of the box, to as a foolproof plan for the box
To take it out and to make it more
to cover
gray.
all the bases.
So now
Right.
when
So now you
she
have a gray.
operates in this gray area, it's
It's okay because
understandable.
now I'm hybrid, right?
Yes.
The other thing that I want to get to, and I want to make sure that we talk about, is I want to talk a little bit about this thing she calls pain pockets. So one of the things she talked about was a pain pocket. And let me see if I can find where's my stuff for pain pockets. I think I erased it. Lord
It's
have
in your
mercy.
notes, I believe. Let's see if I can pull it up.
Pain pockets. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. So a pain pocket is defined in a couple of ways. So it's a part of a process or system that causes problems or obstructions. It's an emotional area that is sensitive to pain, or it is a problem, frustration, or troublesome issue experienced by an individual. So it is a pain point. So, how does pain points create barriers to connection?
I think pain points, a barrier to a connection would be to not feel pain. We put up blocks, we put bandages, we what we call baggage. We do things to stop you from making me feel pain. I'm not going to feel this anymore, so I'm going to block. We put up these emotional blocks that they can't you don't allow them to get to you I'm not going to allow anybody to make me feel this pain anymore. And so these fake bandages that you have a gunshot wound and you put this little band-aid over and you trying to block people from this when you really needed to heal the wound.
Right, because you need to first of all, you need to extract the bullet. Okay, you need to drain some of the blood, and then you need you some sutures because you might want to close that up,
Close
right?
that up
And
and
then
the
you go
whole blood
right.
transfusion before
Thank
you
you.
close it up.
Right, and then you probably gonna need you probably gonna need wound care for a couple of weeks. Okay,
But you're too busy just trying to make
but you
say you're not gonna shoot me
bloody,
again. No.
just bloody though, right? But I think we put, and it's interesting that you say band-aids because we talked about this whole band-aid world before. I was like, boy, I tell you, we'll put a band-aid over it in a minute and keep pushing and call it being strong, especially women. Men too, though. I think men do this. Men do this all the time because they can't cry anyway, and they can't have any emotion. That's a whole nother show because we're gonna talk about
That is
them
a
and that.
different show. A
We go,
good one though.
and just so you know, just so y'all know, real quick, we're gonna be talking about reciprocal vulnerability in my next segment in October. Well, in October, I'm gonna be doing a double feature of to serve with love. And I'm going to be talking about reciprocal vulnerability with L. Paul Stewart. And then I'm actually going to be doing another show back to back. The second show is going to be about, what did I say? I said the second show is going to be about growing, stewarding the growth process. When things fall apart, how do you pick those pieces up and how do you grow from that? And that's going to be with Dr. She's not a doctor. Her name is Mickey Givens. And so, but she's been through a divorce, and I'm not going, I won't tell her story, but it's awesome. And I want her to be able to talk from those points. So I'm going to be doing that segment in October. It's going to be back to back. I still haven't figured out what the date is because I'm trying to coordinate with these people. I tell you, when you get dynamic co-hosts, they got a busy schedule, y'all. Y'all got to book them like 3 months in advance. Okay, I'm just trying to tell you. But that will be coming up, so make sure you stay tuned. And for those details, they will be coming up. Definitely, I'll have more. I should have more information in a couple of weeks. So check out my social medias. I am the Coach T, and see what's going on, so you can know when that next show is coming. Really, really quickly, we are getting down to the end. This has been an awesome conversation, girl. It is 10:47. We is getting it today, okay? So we have unpacked a lot. I think what I want is for us to both talk about how do we combat it, because at the end of the day, what we've been talking about is what we all know as emotional intelligence. That's what we're really talking about. In all these high function, low function, hybrid functioning, trauma, pain point, we're talking about emotional intelligence, okay? How to deal with emotions in a healthy way when they present, and they will present because life be lifing. So psychologists have identified 5 emotional hurts, and they are rejection, abandonment, humiliation, betrayal, and injustice. It kind of falls in line with the types of trauma. When you talk about acute and complex, it's kind of falls in line with that. So these are the things that we are dealing with when we're talking about having to manage your emotions and having the intelligence to do so. The level to which you are able to manage your emotions with intelligence defines really whether you are going to be high functioning or low functioning or a hybrid, depending on whatever the situation is. So it is situational, right?
I agree, and I do believe that the first thing it that helps is becoming very in tune with yourself, your emotions, your reaction to how you present yourself in the world, and your reactions to what's presented to you. So when people do things or that trigger is pushed, what big or small, then how you responded to it. Taking a beat and ask yourself why. Why did I respond this way? Why did I allow that to hurt me? Why did that affect me? And some things will go way back. You can say something to somebody and they get so mad at you, and you think it's not that serious, but to them it was. And if you're that person that is serious, to why? When was the first time? What made it so serious? And a lot of time it's the story that we keep repeating. And I'm going to this actually first came to me with Iyanla Vanzant the
She talked
same
about the
time
story. Yes.
that story I would tell myself. And one of my stories, and I mentioned it today because it was my story. When I met people, I would tell them, well, my parents got divorced when I was 18 and I lost my family. And that was my story.
And I rehearsing it for no reason.
And I knew it. I mean, I could tell the story. It defined who I was and why and my why. And it's still to some degree, I could tell you when it stopped, but when I stopped telling the story. But that story was my description of myself. And when I said I'm not going to stop, and it would put me in a place of pain every time. My children, I hated celebrating Thanksgiving because I didn't have my family. My mother wasn't cooking. There was this. And it brought me back to that place of pain. And many things that I did in life came from a story built from that. And how was I not going to tell that story? It was not going to be the story I used to define myself. But when I talk trauma, it's going to be where it is, where it starts and where it started many times. But then I went even further. So then when I really decided I'm going to heal this, I wound up getting a divorce. And when I tell myself, why did I choose him? Because I did think I loved him. And what made me choose him? And Now I didn't have the language. Trauma bonding wasn't out years ago. So I wasn't thinking, why did I trauma bond with him? I didn't think of it that way. I'm using that now. I just wanted to know, why did I choose? And when I went back to my parents, I asked myself, where did I learn how to love? And went back to my father and asked him about, because I wanted to see, where did I first see love? How did it appear to me? Where did I learn how to love? And then I thought I had that question answered. My parents, this, and went back and talked to my father and asked him, when did he know they loved my mother? He went back and told me that he realized he never really loved my mother. It was that she was very supportive and there for him. He was in Vietnam and she wrote letters to him the whole time he was there. And he felt obligated to marry her because she had been there for him during a very tough time. And when you're killing people, he's in Vietnam.
Right.
And she wrote him a letter every single day. And he said those letters pulled him through some of the rough times. When he got home, he felt obligated. He didn't really feel love for her, but felt obligated to marry, because everybody would say to him, she's a good woman. She was there. She cooks, she cleans, she does all these things. She was there for you.
So he appreciated her for what she had done for him, but he didn't love her.
He
and
didn't
that is
love
a
her.
different thing. So you never really saw the example of a man loving a woman, because he never did.
But what I did see and what I realized I saw a lot of is a very good father. He didn't grow up with his father, he said, so he wanted to be the father that was there. And I feel I had a very good father. And when I went back to determine, like, how did I see love, I wound up kind of realizing I chose someone who was a very good father,
but not necessarily a good
not
husband.
necessarily a good husband.
So you chose,
to me.
right? You chose someone you knew would take care of children and co-parent with you well, but you didn't choose anybody that was just for you.
For me, and I didn't even know what that looked like because I never saw it.
Because he didn't. That's interesting. Now, that
is
wowzers. That is. Let me tell y'all something. That right there, that's transformation right there all day. That is. See, now I understand why she's a transformational coach, because that's transformational. Right.
So, I mean, it was hard for me because when he said that, I thought I saw them love each other. And if you ask me to this day,
my parents loved each other.
They both were home. My father was home every night. My mother cooked for us every single night. We didn't have fast food. Where my mother was there. That I saw them, what I thought was love. She helped build him, pushed him to do more at work. Get that, if it was where he could go higher and achieve more at work, she was there cheering him along. And to me, that was all love. So I saw them being very good parents to us, and I'm thankful for it. But at the same time, was that love? And then I kind of realized
co-parenting and coexisting.
And then I realized, had I ever really seen it?
Right.
But it made me aware of why then I chose who I chose.
Absolutely, because you are replicating what you saw. One of the things that I will definitely say, that when it comes to how you're going to respond, I think that it is important that we manage our responses to the things that happen to us, the negative things that happen to us. And so I found that there are 5 options of response. And honestly, you just have to purpose to utilize the right one at the right time in the right situation.
What are the 5 responses?
So the 5 responses are this. Either you are going to consistently focus on whatever this issue is.
That person that you talk to them and they brought it up again. You're like, oh my goodness, they'll never let this go.
Shut up, right? Let it go. Or you're going to purpose to fight against it. That means, hey, well, at any cost, I'm getting rid of this thing because it's got to go, right?
I'm never letting nobody do this to me again,
because you're not going to get right, Or you're going to submit to fear it.
The Cam Newtons. I'm more afraid of divorce. So I cannot get married because I'm so afraid of divorce. My fear of divorce is greater than my fear of marriage.
My fear of divorce is greater than my
desire for
marriage is what he said. Let me get that right.
For marriage.
So now I'm going to let my fear overtake me, right? Or I'm going to attempt to fix it.
What does that look like?
That's that healing piece, right? That's that do the work, okay? That's that do your work and get a life coach to help you, okay? Call Yonda, call
Or
me,
your
call
church. Some
Wanda, call the
people,
church, anybody, get
whoever it
somebody
works for you. And the
to
first
fix it.
person may not be it. The one thing about I've seen about therapy, you may get someone and you don't actually. That don't mean therapy wasn't meant for
That means
you.
you picked the wrong person.
It
You need to
just
go find your person that is a that you're able to really, really be vulnerable with, and so that and the person that's able to really, really get you. And
yes,
so that they're able to then turn around and pour into you, because everybody doesn't have the pour for you.
exactly.
Okay, they don't. Or you could defer to just be frustrated by it. That
I
means,
am who I am. You're not gonna change me. This is who I am. If you don't like it,
and I'm
just get away.
and I'm uber irritated all the time. I'm triggered all the time. Like, you're gonna trigger me every 5 seconds. You're gonna trigger me. Everything you say gonna trigger me. Okay, I'm ready to be triggered.
I'm ready to be
I'm a
triggered.
ticking time bomb. Okay,
I snap on everybody who comes around
here
me
it
and makes
comes.
me feel any.
You go catch it,
Oh,
right?
you not gonna talk to me that way. I don't let people talk to me
What
that
you
way.
not gonna do
Until
is
today.
what you not gonna do is, there you go. That's that ever uber frustrated person. What you not gonna do is
I've
calm
dealt with
down.
that before. I don't let people do that to me.
I love it. Look, every time I see somebody start clapping, I'm like, oh, here we go. Now that's low functioning behavior. Let's be clear. All of those low functioning behavior, I'm gonna need y'all to stop it, okay? All right, we have had a good time. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Wanda
Toria. Coach
B.
T.
It's been an awesome pleasure having you back. Connect with me on Facebook. I am the Coach T. I would tell y'all to watch my Walking Out Wednesdays, but I ain't done a Walking Out Wednesdays, and God knows when.
You'll
Because
walk it out again.
I'm walk it out another day. Look, y'all, I'm in school. I'm trying to get this last piece done. I promise you, I'm gonna come back next year. I'm gonna actually do Walking Out Wednesdays on a regular basis. Real quick, Wanda, tell them what you got going on.
You all check out He Said, She Said tomorrow at 2 p.m. Here on IntellectualRadio.com, and check out all our other shows besides Fabulous Empowering Moments. We have so many shows. They're funny. We have so many different, whether it's faith-based, whether it's self-improvement, whether it's politics, comedy. We have, if you say, I don't feel like working on my traumas today, you don't have to. You can just tune in and laugh.
Because we got a
Come
couple
back
of them.
for Milk and Honey on Wednesdays or Thursdays and just laugh. Go check out some of those shows. We have a plethora of shows. Go on YouTube and you can see some of the shows that have been here in the past that may not put in new shows out every week, but they're still there, becoming dateable. There are so many. If you just say, I want to decompress, I don't even know, I don't feel like working on my high function, my low function. I just want to be.
I just want
Then
to
just
be.
go laugh on intellectualradio.com on YouTube. Subscribe and you'll get notifications when the new shows come. When Empowering Moments comes on again, you'll get a notification like, hey, Coach T is coming, and you can listen to our shows. We really do have so many different topics and things. We have something that may interest you if this doesn't. Then if you want your own show, you say, I want to talk about sports. I don't want to listen to none of that going low and high and all of that. Then 708-223-8953. Come bring what you want to talk about to intellectualradio.com. We're always looking for new things because everybody has their own taste. Sometimes for some people, they don't want to do this work. Everybody's not prepared to do the work. And when you're ready, when you get tired of being tired or whatever the reason be, I'm not saying that, whatever it is, when you are ready to deal with it, you will. Everybody does things at their own pace in their own time. But in between time, we got something for you. And I would love for you to come check it out. And then if you want your own show, contact me. I'm Wanda Bee on all social media, Wanda Bee, like a bumblebee. Or call 708-223-8953 and let us know what you like to do, what you want to talk about, and come on in and talk about it.
Absolutely. And let me tell you that whatever you want, you can find it on on intellectualradio.com. Let's just be clear. And if you don't see what you're looking for, be the change you want to see, honey. Get your own show. Huh? All right. Thank you guys so much. It has been a pleasure. This has been Empowering Moments with Coach T. Right here on intellectualradio.com. I am the Coach T. And remember to always just be you. That's a wrap, y'all.
Just be you. I love that.